All right. Am I seeing double? Is that the barley pops, or is there really two tractors here? Let's find out right after this. Welcome back. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Ross the Oliver Man, and this here is the 4150 that I just got at auction. Yesterday it would have been, but whenever you see this, who knows how long ago it will have been. But yeah, pretty cool. The 4180's little brother. And I got some ideas for videos now. Since I've got two of them, I can show you, like I want to do one video maybe on the history and then compare and contrast the differences between them, because even though they look similar, these are essentially two totally different tractors. They share an engine and sheet metal and a cab, but other than that, there ain't a lot alike between them. So I thought maybe for this deal, we would just kind of take inventory of what we have here, because I did not know that this was going to be for sale. I didn't even know that it lived there until a few months ago. Somebody got a hold of me, actually at church, and he said, hey, he said, do you need a 2150? And I said, a 2150? I said, well, I said, I'd be interested, but I don't know. I mean, I didn't know of anybody around here who had a 2150. Well, turns out it was a 4150. But anyway, he said the old man died, the boy is trying to clean up stuff, and they're kind of in a hurry to get rid of stuff, but you know, they got a few equipment and they named off what they had. And he said, you know, I told him you should come look at it. And I said, well, that's fine. I said, let me know and I'll go down there, you know, sometime. So he was supposed to let me know whenever this guy was available. And one day he left me a message on my phone, and it said, hey, they said they'd take $12,000 for that tractor. And I said, well, forget it. I'm not even going to go look at it. I mean, we're going to be way, way far apart, because these things just are not worth that much. These early ones, the 4180 and the 4150, are nothing like the later ones. You know, the 4210, the 4175, 4225, all those were much better constructed units, as we will discuss in future videos when we really look at how they're made. But anyway, so I just put it out of my mind. I thought, this is, you know, they're going to be sitting with that forever. Well, apparently not. Apparently the place sold and they needed it out of there, so they hired an auctioneer. And I mean, they might have advertised it, but I sure didn't see it. I don't know how far reaching they were. I know newspapers aren't like they used to be, so that probably I don't think they put in a lot of papers. It was on Auction Zip, but I never saw it. And the way I found out was on the 4th of July, my phone rang. 4th of July is usually when we celebrate my birthday, so we were having a party, and my phone rings, and a guy on the phone says, hey, I drove to see my brother the other day and went down this road, and there's this equipment sitting out there. And he said, I think they're having an auction. You better check it out. So the next day I went, and you know, I saw it out there, and the auctioneer happened to be there, and we talked, and I said, well, I'll come back tomorrow. And I said, I'll probably try to buy this and give it my darndest effort to do that. So sure. So anyway, I figured it wouldn't be very well attended auction, and I also figured that there would not be that many people interested in it. I didn't even really think the equipment jockey would really be interested in it, because these are kind of a hard sell. There's not a lot of people who would really want them. There's not, I don't know if they're even really, I figured he probably didn't want to fool with it. When I bought that one, nobody really bid against me either. The guy who owned it basically said it takes X amount of dollars to buy it or it doesn't go, and that's what I gave him. So it wasn't like there was a lot of competition, and I did not have a lot of competition at the auction, other than I guess it was a father and son. They had one, a 4150, and they broke their drive shafts, and they were looking for parts. So he bid against me a couple times, and then after the sale, we got to talking, and I tried to give him some tips on where to get drive shafts made and stuff, and we exchanged numbers. So I told him if he ever needs parts and stuff, I can help him, you know, try to figure out where that is or what. But anyway, so we got it. You saw the video where I brought it home. It was pretty good, uneventful trip, other than immediately the stack fell off because it's junk. I'm gonna have to go get a better one pretty well right away, just so that water doesn't get in it and I don't have to worry about it. That's the nice thing about curved stacks. You know, you can, if it gets caught in the rain, you don't have to worry about it. But at any rate, I was impressed with how smooth it runs. The engine runs really well. It shows, I think, 2,198 hours or something like that. We'll look in a minute, but I was just impressed with it. Several people told me after the fact that where the tractor came from originally, and I know where that was. It was actually the same neighborhood where that came from, but that one was not sold around here originally. This one was. So, and I actually, that plant air planter I have came from the same guy who would have owned this. But anyway, kind of interesting. It was a local one that has stuck around the neighborhood, and now it lives here. So interesting things about it. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of rough in some ways, and in other ways it's not. You know, it's missing a chunk out of the fiberglass. You can see the grill's a little bit more beat up than the one in that one. It's had some custom fab washers and stuff. It's missing that panel, but I think I got one located to come for that. Yeah, I mean, what to say? It's kind of original, very original. It's an earlier one, I think. I haven't even checked the serial number, but there's things on it that have not been updated, which tells me it is an early one. It has the AC compressor still on it, but it's got a problem. It only goes like 3/4 of the way around, and then it hits where it did a minute ago. Oh, yeah. So that's probably junk, and we need to swap that out. It's really in these, I mean, you can run them with the windows open, but it's so loud. It's a lot nicer if the air works, just so that it's, you know, not screaming in your face and rattling in that metal box. But you can stand it without. A nice breeze comes in through the vent windows. It's just super loud. This one's still got the original muffler, although it is starting to get not very gooder, so we're probably going to have to address that at some point soon in the future. That is obviously not available anymore. So we'll probably have to come up with something and make our own, you know. I don't like it when people turn the manifolds upside down and have pipes on each side. I think that just doesn't do it for me. I like the factory look, so I'll keep that. This one has obviously, like I said, someone's replaced the motor at some point in its life, so it's got different style manifolds on it. But they made their own setup here, and it's just a metal box. So it's essentially, it's straight piped, but it goes into a metal box first before it leaves. And I guess that's what we can do to this one too. I mean, that seems to be working. Yeah, so looking it over, 4150 is not like the 4180 in that this essentially is more like a couple 1955s hooked together. It's that size tractor, you know, all the pieces, but it does have the hydraulic shift, 3-speed on the go, unlike the 4180, which is just gear to gear, because they did not think that would hold up to over 150 horsepower, and then they came out with a heavy duty over under later on. But this has got that. All 3 speeds work because I shifted it going home. It doesn't have any horrendous leaks that I have noticed yet. I mean, it has some things that obviously are leaking and will need attention, as you can see mess here and there, the hydraulic area. Right away, I'm going to have to replace that hose, the main hydraulic hose, pressure hose that goes from the pump to the priority valve, because it's on its last legs, and I blew one of those off that other one once, and you don't want that. You'll lose all your oil, plus bad things could happen. You could really destroy stuff, so don't do that. So definitely it will probably get that. I'll probably go ahead and replace the pressure line to the remotes and that too. I think in the future plans for this, I probably will set this one up for power beyond. That way it could also be a choice if I needed something to plant with my air planter, you know, because this one would be very simple to set up for power beyond. It's got the plug in here. The 1755's got a sending unit there. I'm gonna have to do some funky stuff to make that work, but this one I could set up just exactly like I did to the 1855, and then it would be ready whenever I needed it. And so it could be a choice for that. It's gonna be nice to have this as a choice, as a backup for either of the other two, even though you'll have to go slower, just like the 9650 has to go slower on the disc than the 4180. This can do it, it's just gonna be slower, but it'd be nice to have that extra choice. Because like I said, that one year they both broke down at the same time, and it would have been nice to just keep going and get it done, because you're almost done and then something happens. But anyway, what else to say about it? I don't want to give away all the stuff in the first video here, you know, because I do want to make some fancier videos about the tractors and differences and things. But another way I know this is an early one, it does not have the update for the transmission checking. The later ones, well, the 4180 has it. This one just has a pipe plug, and that was how you were supposed to check. And the 4180 has the updated stuff, which I think I've located a set. But it has, they came up with this extended nipple deal, and then it's actually got a dipstick so you can check it. Because let's face it, you're more likely to check it if it has a dipstick than if you have to actually physically pull a pipe plug. Guys just aren't going to do that. So, you know, they figured out that was a thing. Another way we know this is an earlier one, it does not have the transmission lube warning system on it. There was a service bulletin over putting that on, and I think I've located an original kit for that too, because we are definitely going to put that on. As we learned with the 4180, it's handy to know when your lube pressure goes away. Interestingly enough though, it does have the wire in this harness that would have went to the transmission lube sensor there. So I'm not sure what the deal is. Maybe that harness ended up getting replaced at some point, or maybe they intended on putting it on and they just never did till later, and that's how that came to be. The front I did not see. Of course, I haven't really gone digging or anything to see if there's a wire hanging out somewhere to you know, hook it up on that one, because they go under the filter. There's a pipe plug and you just tap in there and go. But we need to know whether we have transmission lube. So yeah, that's another sign. It's probably an early one. Another good sign is this one has the early pivot pin. It has not been updated, contrary to what other YouTubers might think. The 4-bolt style is the updated pivot pin, and this is the original. The original is just a straight pin that went through. That caused some issues later on, so they went to the one I'll show you, like on the 4180. They had a field update to change it to a style that has 4 bolts and it's a tapered pin. And there's a service bulletin on that. But we'll cover that later when we do differences and things. But that's a good way to know that this is an early one, because that has never been changed. So it's probably pretty wore out in there and needs attention. Who knows? We'll get there. But it's only got 2,000 hours on it or such. So, you know what I'm saying. It's on 23 134s, just like the 4180 is, which was an option. You know, these wider tires were optional, because normally it would have come on like 18 434s or whatever. This one just looks so much more massive than that one with these tires. I guess it's because they're war, but I guess also because it's the different transmissions, it sits a little lower maybe. But it's amazing. It's the same size tire, but it just feels like that 4180 is so much more big, and it's really physically not that much different. Leaks, we're going to be tackling on this. Sealing the remote valves. They are a muddy mess, and we will make that all more better And you know, none of this is a priority right now because this is just an extra tractor, so we've got time. It's not like we're in a rush to do it, but we need to just make this all better and put the, like I do with JIC fittings in them. It makes it so much more cleaner. That Oliver guy just did some on his 1855, and I should have known whenever the battery starts getting down there in low numbers that the camera will say it's too hot and shut off. But anyway, as I was saying, we're going to replace that, make it better. I typically always put straight JIC adapters in there and put 90-degree ends on the hoses. Makes it a little easier to clock it than putting O-ring fittings on the hoses. But that Oliver guy just did some on his 1855, and I like the way that it turned out on his. He put, because of, I guess, the first rendition he tried didn't work, he was going to just use adapters and straight JIC hoses, which would have been a lot cheaper, because anytime you use the 90-degree or any type of hose that has a piece of tube made to it is a lot more expensive fitting. But he went half and half, and he put 90-degree adapters in the back ones here, and then the front ones he did the straight adapters like I do with 90-degree on the hose. And what that gave him was, it looked like it's going to work out where the back ones are higher so that the ones in the front have room to come underneath, whereas when you do it the way I've been doing it, you have to kind of like clock them side by side so you got enough room to get through. So we may investigate doing that because I liked how that looked. So that'll need to be gone through. Obviously, we'll put the right kind of cap on. I think I still have some. What else here? PTO cable is stuck. So if we can't figure that out, we'll probably just have to order a new one. It is still available, amazingly enough. These hoses ain't great. Probably should just go ahead and replace them. JIC style too, a little bit, so we can eliminate the swivel. You know, a swivel that moves will leak, and I don't like those. If you put a JIC adapter, you can get it where it needs to be, lock it down, and it won't go. These do not have any reason to swivel once they're on there because the cylinders don't move, and neither does that piece. But you have to have a swivel so you can tighten it up because it's pipe thread on both ends. So we'll make that more better. In the future, probably it would be nice, because I'm sure this one doesn't have it, but yeah, it doesn't have it. They were 1,000 PTO only, and that ain't real handy. So on the 4180, what I did, got me a PTO unit that was dual speed and put it on there, and I'm pretty sure I got the right one, but I got to second guessing myself afterwards. You got to make sure you get one off of a 2255 because the engine speed of the 3208 is different than the Waukesha, so that wouldn't be quite exactly right if you got one off the Waukesha and put it on here. You could physically change the shafts, but you want to get one that runs the right speed. So we'll have to be on the lookout for that, and we'll just swap unit for unit, you know, take the whole thing off, put the other one on, and then have all the fun you can stand. Then you can put 540 or 1,000 or whatever. What else? I like this one, still got the hammer strap. I've really looked around and around and I never could find one. I'd like to put one on that other one, but can't find one. So if anybody knows where one of those is, I'd probably be in the market for that. What else are we looking at here? Well, interestingly enough, like I said, since this is similar to like a 1955 rear end or 2105, whatever you want to say, it still has latch style arms instead of solid ball. And I'm pretty sure that the 4180's got solid ball, but yeah, I'm betting those are category 3 though. I'm not exactly sure on that. Have to look. I mean, it has the 6,000 pound lift hitch, which is like, I always thought they came standard on a 1955, but my 1955 doesn't have it. So apparently you could order it without it and it was still an option. But at any rate, all I'm saying there is external lift cylinders. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, it's got, you know, obviously adjustable axles, which was one of the differences in 4150, 4180. but it only has single hubs. In the future, I might like to find some dual hubs and put on there like I got on the 1855, 1955. That would make it more versatile, where you could slap on a set of duals if you had to, you know. And like I said, I'm thinking about if I could find enough rims to put it back on, like, to put it on, because it probably was always on these, but to put it on 18.4s so it would fit down rows, you know. I think it would be maybe more handy to have one set up that way. Maybe not, but I just don't know if I'm in it for spending $8,000 on tires again, you know. That was super duper hurtful. It really hurt my feelings, you know, to part ways with that much money for rubber. Even though I did it over several years, it still hurt. We need to do a complete service on everything. Like I said, clean it up, assess what we got, because we know nothing about it. It sat for so long. Just the things I noticed first glance, you know, that we're going to be fixing. The hydraulic temperature sender unit is broken, so we'll need to get a new one of those. The wire's just dangling there. That would probably be a good thing to have working. Let's check this out. I haven't even really been in here. Oh, sweet. Chain. That's awesome there. I don't know if there's one or two, but free chain, I'll have that. We've got hitch balls. We've got miscellaneous nonsense down in here. Got some pins, end of a big hose. I'm stoked about the chains. Box of fuses that's no more. Broken cultivator shanks. We can take them out and throw them in the scrap probably. I don't know exactly what he used this piece for, but it'll probably become obvious whenever we need something like that. Unless that's not the factory, surely not. It looks very nicely made, that's what I'm saying that. I wonder if that is the factory piece that you could use to lock the, right here. You see what I'm saying? I bet it is. I have to look in the parts book and see if that's what it is. If you were going to use it for stationary work, you could lock this steering linkage so that the tractor couldn't articulate. I bet that's what that piece is. That would be cool, because I don't think I've ever seen one of those before. So that's neat. Obviously, filter change there, you know. If we look at the drive shafts, this one has obviously been replaced. And it's been replaced by what I told that guy, Republic Diesel in Louisville. They made a drive shaft last fall for my cousin's grain truck. You know, the ones that the deer combine, that blue Ford with the Detroit that I would use sometimes. He had a load of corn on it, and he went to pull out of the field, and the drive shaft twisted itself up. And I can't remember how it was made, but it had a couple different articulation points and some splines and whatnot and different things. And, you know, he kind of thought, oh, it's going to be super expensive. And I want to say they only charged him like $600 or $700 for it. And I think that was, myself, I think that was a deal. I mean, I think for what it could have been. So might try to get them to do that. Boy, these ones seem a lot better than the, these feel a lot better than the ones in the 4180. That's always been a worry of mine too, that these would chuck one of these days. So what I might do is I might see about getting some made for that 4180 and keeping those two as spares. So if it chucked one on the road, I could just quickly bolt in them and go home. Also, the ones on the 4180 are not greasable U-joints, which is not, that doesn't make much sense, but they aren't. And so that's going to become a problem at some point. But at any rate, what else do we want to say here about that? Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of pumped. I guess this guy must have made sure that everything was good to go, because those feel very good. How's this? This even feels better on this one than the 4180. We need to take this off of the 4180 sometime and put new bushings in and everything, because it is very it's very clunky. And it's not bad when you keep it greased up, but when you, after a while, it starts flopping around, you can hear it clunk and stuff. So that's very important. We need to do. I will assume at some point when I've got nothing else to do and just got money just sitting in my pocket that I need to get rid of, I will probably replace all 4 of these steering hoses like we did on that other one when it forced us to. That was not a happy time, but that requires pulling the fuel tank, so we will probably not do that right away either. You know, there's thousands of dollars I could spend on this immediately just to make it, you know, better. Not that it needs it right now, it's still working, but I could replace every hose on it, you know, stuff like that, and we could rack up a heck of a bill right away, and I'm just not into that. We're gonna take her slow, you know. I was trying to see what year it was. At the auction video, I didn't do a very good job. I get nervous when people are around. I don't like to be trying to film, so you know what I'm saying. I just, sometimes my footage cuts off and whatnot, but let's look it up right now. Okay. Oh, dum-dum, you wiped off the wrong one. The model instead of the serial number. Okay, 267 would put it at a 1976, so it's not that early. It's kind of a mid-range model, but it must have taken them about 3 years to figure out what kind of updates they needed. And then of course they quit making these in like 78 when they switched to the Force 175 and 4210, and those are totally differently made, a lot beefier, and eliminated a lot of these problems. If you look at this here and you can see what they've done. That's a 1955, that's a 1955. They made this center articulation joint here that would just bolt directly to stuff that they already had, you know. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, I don't think they really fully knew not what they were doing or what to expect, maybe, like as far as the strain and the load yet. So they made this center section, you know, thinking we had her licked, but it became obvious later that it needed to be different. It just, there were things about it that were too lightly made and didn't hold up as well. They were trying to keep it where the tractor could flex, you know, since all the axles are rigid, and they did a pretty good job for what it is. See, another thing people get caught up on and don't realize, these tractors were not intended as necessarily going to be like a Steiger or whatever. They weren't thinking of them as they were going to be like just brute force pulling tractors to do heavy work, as much as they were thinking it was going to be a row crop 4-wheel drive. Like this was going to be the future instead of front wheel assist, but front wheel assist caught on and this kind of didn't. But you know, that was, I think, their thinking. That's why they're built low to the ground, you know, which is also an advantage because you didn't have all those drop boxes and stuff like other brands of tractors. But you know, it left it open to maybe it's not as beefy as the later ones, you know. When they realized people really wanted them for heavy tillage and all kinds of stuff like that all the time and just beat the tar out of them, they made everything heavier, and then it could stand up to that just fine. And then, like, you know, they realized, hey, it'd be super handy to have adjustable axle or, you know, stuff. So you had that on a lot of the bigger ones like the 4210 and whatnot. This one you do, but what I'm saying is the 4180 doesn't. So as we assess our cab, I'm afraid our cab is a little bit rusty. We may need to clean this all up and see about maybe welding in here a little bit better floor, maybe patch it up. The door came open on me going down the road, but that's nothing new. The 4180 door comes open in the field sometime. But it's a good thing this strap is here, because that will stop it. You know, if you didn't have that, it'd swing back and Probably bend the door or hit the wheel or something. Yeah, we got some rust. Basically all the way around the base of this cab. So we're gonna need to pull the floor mat up and assess that. Very original though, as we look at it. Seat is not the best in this one. We'll have to, at some point, maybe find out what's available on that ordeal, but it's kind of a unique seat. I bet they don't make a new one. Yeah, he's had factory, you had 2 mirrors, and then I added more mirrors on that other one too, and this guy did as well, but he just kind of added a little short truck mirror in the middle. Going down the road, I guess that's fine. It was a little too low, I thought, for what I needed. I mounted a long flat mirror like that over here to see backwards. He's got a little round deal, which I don't like this as well. I'll probably do something different. I also made a shelf up here under there, but not that you really need that. That's also where I put speakers, because I put stereo. Even though you can't hear the radio when you're in the... Shouldn't have done that. Thought I was going to listen to the radio and stuff driving that, but it just don't do it. So this one's still got the factory radio in it. Never tried it to see if it goes. Battery's dead right now. That's something we're going to have to do. Get batteries and probably put a cutoff on it so they stay nice. The layout is basically like the 4180, except it's not. I mean, there's a few differences. Being the layout of lights is different. This one has, I looked a while ago because I couldn't tell what was what. That one's the hydraulic temperature light. This one's the air cleaner. That one's the brake park lock. There's a switch on that little lever that your latch that tells you your brake's still locked. I don't remember any of that lighting up whenever I tried to start it. I also don't remember the stop buzzer working. And that really needs to work, I think, just for emergencies, you know. So we'll probably have to tear the cover off of this instrument panel when we go to put that transmission lube sensor stuff on. And then we will investigate, you know what I'm saying. Figure it out. This one's still got the original oil pressure gauge in it. Like I said, it came up in the green and was up in the green. The one on the 4180 pegs, so I don't know if that's good or bad, but it needs an engine oil change. What can I say? Everything else about it looks about like the other one. Yeah, so big fuel cap. Don't know what that's doing in here. I'm not gonna lay that big. We really need to sort through this. This could be kind of nasty. I don't know if I really want to dig in there with my bare hand. But I think we're going to try to start it and pull it up in the shade. I got my spray out of the other one. I thought maybe we'd clean up the window so we can see out of it. Also, you know, hear it run today. It's dead as a doornail here. She ain't got nothing. So I had to get the jump box. It's in the white pickup. I'm gonna go get that, we'll put it on, which means I gotta crawl up here, start the tractor, then go back down, you know, take the jump box off. So let me go get that and then we'll get going. Yeah, 2 batteries only show 6 volts. Let's try it out. None of our buzzers or anything lit up, so we're gonna have to definitely check that out. Needs to idle a little better. Bounces, so it's probably working. But we ain't got no buzzers. We ain't got no, I don't know. Yeah, we need to get everything the way it needs to be, but we need to clean it first. And of course, the first thing I did when I got over here and opened the door was kick the can of the cleaner out of the cab. So now we get to deal with that. I think since I'm outside, first thing I'm going to do is clean the outside of the windshield, because that's pretty bad. I forgot to bring something, and Dad had some box of Kleenex or something in the truck, and I got it good enough where I could see. Ooh. But yeah, you can see a lot of years of trash. It's also super hot outside again today, so I'm really enjoying that. Sure. Let that eat on that grime a little bit. The sprayway is good stuff. Cuts right through all that nasty. We're gonna have to get ourselves a dry one now. Look at that. Look at how dirty. We need to do this to that other one too, because it's kind of got neglected. It hasn't been cleaned for a long time. It's hot enough out here though, that stuff is drying faster than I can wipe it up. Oh, that's much more better. Get down without killing ourselves? Maybe. I'm gonna go outside and clean that back glass from the outside. Acrobatics. Yeah. So the GoPro keeps shutting off because it's hot. And so I went inside to get a drink, and then I got a confession to make. I guess I'm in a cab, so it's probably a good thing, but it boggles my mind as well. But as of this year, I have apparently become a women's basketball fan, and that is hard to believe. So I sat down and watched the Aces game on the internet there. This is a weird phenomenon because I am not interested in sports at all. However, this year, when our high school girls played at the Gainbridge Field House, then I was sitting there, and at one point in the game, these women came out and started throwing T-shirts, and they were talking about the Indiana Fever, and I thought, what in the heck is this? And then I thought, well, they must have a women's basketball team. I'd never heard of that before in my entire life. So then, a few weeks later, the boys ended up winning, which another driver drives for them. And then he went on vacation for a month, and after they won, they got invited up to the field house there to go to a Pacers game and get recognized halfway through. So they said, can you drive them up there? And I said, yeah, whatever. So I dropped them off there, and I went to Red Lobster, as per usual. And while I was sitting there on the TV, there was the championship game between the Iowa Hawkeyes and South Carolina. And so I'm sitting there, eating my food, enjoying my life, and then kind of watching this. And I see this girl, Caitlin Clark, playing on TV and making these spectacular shots and stuff. And I thought, well, that's pretty interesting, that somebody can do that who's not that old, and really she's not a very muscular looking person, like some of the professional players you see. And so anyway, after that, then the old YouTube suggestions start suggesting these Caitlin Clark, you know, highlight reels, and I'd watch those and be like, man, these people can play, you know. Then she gets drafted to the Indiana Fever, and her pal, who is on the team, gets drafted to the Las Vegas Aces. So I started watching both of these teams, and I guess I'm hooked because I've watched every single game they've played, and I just can't believe that myself. But it is interesting to watch. I like watching the Aces because when they're having a good day, they can do some pretty fancy maneuvers that I don't know. It's amazing how they can do that and so quick. And like today, they won by 104 points to 80 something. And I never would have dreamt that a women's basketball team would get 100 points in a game. So anyway, that's my cab confession. Apparently now I am a sports fan. I can't believe it. But anyway, that's a handy thing to do when it's 140 degrees outside, and, you know, gives me a reason to take a break and sit down and just let my brain go on idle, I guess. But anyway, so as I was saying, I think the outside of this glass is more dirty than the inside. We're going to try to make it a little more better, but I really think that a majority of the not being able to see was outside problem, and I bet you I won't. It's been sitting in the shade now a while, so maybe this stuff won't dry quite as fast as it would. But I guess the point of my sports story is, apparently I like my women athletes like I like my tractors made in Iowa. So sure. Oh, I missed a spot on the outside. That's super duper clean now. I wonder if this will wipe off. I bet if I got some steel wool, like the 4/0 steel wool, I bet that surface rust would come out of this metal. I don't know. Let's use some cleaner inappropriately. Apparently, no one ever cleaned the dust off. But also, I know why it's this dusty, because his air conditioner wasn't working. And that's the downfall. Yeah, you can tough it out. You can ride in a tractor without the air conditioning. But it don't take long before it gets nasty from all the dirt. That's why I want to get the 9650 fixed up right away. I hear something running in the background. Anyway, that's why I want to get the 9650 fixed right away, because it's got a lot of carpet in it, and I really don't want to ruin it or make it nasty. I put that new headliner in it, and it was kind of expensive, so sure. Oh, let's just do that. I don't care. Glass cleaner, dash cleaner, radio cleaner, steering wheel. Sure. I don't care. I think that's the air compressor running. I must have forgot to shut it off a while ago. More sadness. My cousins brought hay, and I was unloading it, and all at once my loader tractor tire starts going flat. Somewhere between where it was sitting and driving it out there, I punctured the sidewall. So now it leaks. So I guess I'm going to have to fix it. And it's almost a brand new tire, so that's pretty sad on its own. Look at that 70s wood grain come to life. Well, I heard the air compressor shut off, so I'm betting that this was a mistake spraying that stuff on this dash, because I bet it's going to discolor it. I am not very bright. Another thing I know that we're going to be doing, if it's not already. Yes, Jack, I hear you hee-hawing back there. Finish your You're talking, Jackie. This appears to be the style key like in the 1800. They look similar, but they're different, like the later 4 digits. And I don't know if that just is a coincidence. Maybe it's got this style head, or if it really is. If this really is the old style deal, I'm going to put a different key switch in so it matches the rest of the tractors, because I don't want an oddball key that I won't be able to, you know what I'm saying right there. But we need to take that dash apart anyway, because we're going to be doing a lot of wiring sorting, because like I said, nothing comes on. There is no lights of any kind. I mean, maybe that switch is probably going by now. I'm betting that this old feller, when he was working on it, just hacked out as much wiring as he could to make it simple, you know. That's my guess, but maybe that's wrong. Let's do that. This one I bet is more dirty on that. Well, maybe not. I was gonna say maybe it's more dirty on the inside than the outside, but can't tell if I got it all and that's on the outside, or whether I need to do it again. It's better than it was, but I think I got well, I can't say that. I got that side window I gotta do yet. This side window, and then the 2 little back triangles. And then the inside is done. That one you can see the trash on the inside right there. I think some of that glass is actually scratched the way it looks. That's unfortunate, but there, I missed a spot. This needs revamped. He's made it his own, and that's not. It's supposed to have knobs so you can quick adjust it. Those are long gone, so I'm gonna have to get new ones. Agco still shows them in the parts book available, but I don't know if they are actually really that, or if they're going to be some kind of different shape replacement. This doesn't look anything like it. Look how pretty that looks when it's clean. Way more better, way more. Now it's hot in here. Well, just do that. Easier to just work out the window than try to close it again, apparently. That one needs done from the outside. There's nowhere to stand on the outside of the cab, so that's why it's kind of hard to get those windows. This is really riveting footage, isn't it? A guy washing windows on a tractor that's sat for 30 years. We'll even wash the little mirrors off. Maybe then we can see out of them. Had a heck of a time yesterday to see what was going on. Ooh, shiny. Yeah. We can see our ugly mug now. Well, you don't need to just sit here and watch a guy wash windows, but the moral of the story is we got a lot to discover still on this machine before I feel like it's ready to hit the field, because it would make no sense to just hastily go out there and destroy something. But overall, I'll tell you, I gave $2,100 for this tractor, and I don't feel that I'm hurting any. I mean, look, we got 2184 hours. And if that is to be believed, this is a fairly low hour tractor. And in some ways it shows that. In other ways it's kind of rough, but you know, anything can be rough if it's been outside and whatever, or got the wrong kind of moisture in it, even if it's in the shed. And I'd say that's what's happened, like here to this cab. It probably just sat out the wrong way, you know, or in the wrong type of building that drew moisture and let it rot out and not cleaned the trash out of the cab. So, but yeah, a lot of stuff on it is still pretty snazzy, and it's going to be handy having another thing that's 150 horsepower just in case we need it. So I can't complain. Do you suffer from low intelligence and are easily entertained? Well, then hit that thumbs up button and leave a comment, and that way we can keep making entertainment that your feeble minds can understand. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.